minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Shout out to Kopish.
Shout out to Kopish, guys.
All the good work
the
up.
Two legends, Emil Heskey, Howard Gill. Can't get much better than that guy. Yeah. You know what to do now. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm with legends, guys.
Kopish.
Good afternoon, lovely people. I hope you're well and welcome back to the channel. We have a big game on Saturday. We played these guys a couple of days ago. This time it's a reverse fixture. This time it's in the Premier League, and we're delighted to be joined by Brighton fan Ryan. Ryan, how are you doing, bro?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I've got to be honest. I don't know how I feel about this game after the other night. I think it's gonna be very different, but yeah, excited to talk about it. Thank you for having me on.
Nah, pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Drift, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm all right. As you know, I was talking with Ryan before. A little apprehensive about playing the same team twice in such a short space of time. Was getting a feeling of how serious both teams took the last game. This game will be different. But yeah, I'm always excited when Liverpool play, but I'm always anxious because I need the 3 points. Like it's just a continued cycled feeling, isn't it? Of you can't wait to watch the team, but you need the 3 points so it doesn't ruin the weekend. That's just the life of a football fan, you know.
Completely agree. Well, guys, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Also, make sure you support Ryan. The link to his channel is in the title of the YouTube video, also in the description as well. So make sure you go over there and support Ryan and what he's doing. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Played each other a few days ago. The game finished 3-1. I'd say Liverpool were in control for most of the game, but 3-2 it finished, sorry. In control for most of the game, and then, you know, we made some mistakes. You guys capitalized on them. It wasn't your first team or your strongest team. It wasn't our strongest team. But you guys do have a lot of injuries at the moment. Going into this game, how much do you think your starting 11 will change from what we saw on Wednesday?
Yeah, fair bit. Starting in goal. I think the other night wasn't a great sort of view of us. But then again, I say that we haven't been fantastic all season. It has to be said. We've got a different sort of style of play now. It was actually quite nice, I thought, in the first half against you guys. I thought it was quite nice to see us starting to play out from the back a little bit, seeing a little bit of what we get used to seeing of Brighton, which is that beautiful football. But probably since the Zerbi's gone, that transition into being a little bit more pressing, as you would probably know better than anybody, with German pressing like Jurgen Klopp did so often. It's a very up and down thing. It can either be very, very good for you, or you get caught out and either make a mistake or get punished for it. I think we've probably been on the receiving end of the latter, particularly against Wolves last weekend. And there's a few little reservations, maybe a few little, naivety aspects, not just to the Hertzler himself, but to sort of the team. We're a very young side. So as you say, it's a young team that faced you last game. But again, 3 days later, it's still going to be a very young team that plays again, because that's just the squad. But at that, it's a very talented one. And, if we can try and get an early goal or something like that, it could change the trajectory of the game. But it'll be a tough one, that's for sure.
Just want to stay with you here, Ryan, because obviously you've changed managers. You had De Zerbi for the last couple of seasons. Before that was Potter. You've got the youngest manager in the league, if I'm not mistaken, as well. How have you, as a fan, found the transition? You speak about there's no gegenpressing now. You're not necessarily playing out from the back as much. Do you like this new style of play, or is it not really to your taste? It's a safe space. You can be honest here.
Do you know what? It's different, isn't it? So things are different. I like the results. We've got some very good results, particularly against Newcastle springs to mind. The point at Arsenal was a very good one. The turnaround against Tottenham was very impressive. So there's a lot to be happy about at the moment. I think the trouble for me is the consistency of playing in the way we do. With that said, it did change against Wolves from against Newcastle, and it sort of changed again. So I'd say it's still very, there's no set exact style that I can definitely say, right, we're going to come to Liverpool and this is the way we're going to play. And whilst that might not be a great thing for us, whereas before I could probably come on and say, look, we're going to try and control the game, like De Zerbi style, like Potter's style, we'll try and control the game, try and overload you, play through the lines and really try and punish you if you do make them sort of lapses. But for us now, it's probably a little bit more, we'll take the chance when we see it. Jason Steele's great with his feet, but it'll be Bart Bruggen in goal, and Bart's is a fantastic player, a great ceiling on him, but probably not as good with his feet as Jason Steele is. Jason Steele's practically a midfielder, to be honest. His passing range is ridiculous. With Verbruggen, you sort of suffer with that. So we do tend to sort of pump it long a little bit. It does go towards Welbeck. It does go towards Jorginho. And as much as Welbeck and Jorginho are absolutely on fire this season, it's probably more through that, long ball, maybe more through a moment of quality from someone like Jorginho or someone like Kaoru Mitoma to unlock it, because I don't think we're going to come and try and dominate the game. We're not going to try and do that. I think it will be more, maybe even soak pressure, but without Lewis Dunk, that becomes very difficult. As you say, we've got a lot of injuries. It'll be a very difficult game, if I'm being honest. I think quality could shine through in this one.
I hear you. Drift, maybe not to as much of an extent as what Ryan's just described there, but there's been a transition for Liverpool fans as well. And one thing I've seen a lot over the last week is the words pragmatism and lack of excitement used. Now, we are picking up results, but obviously we had the game against Arsenal, which, threw up a few questions. As Liverpool fans now, going into our 10th league game, where do you sit with the whole footballing philosophy of Slot in comparison to the previous regime, which is probably the best we've seen in our lifetime?
I think it's about 80% similar to the way we played in some regards. So I don't think the change has been that drastic.
Did you say 80%, yeah?
Yeah, I think apart from moving into a pivot, a lot of what we do now is very similar. I think the difference is that I'm seeing in the squad might be stuff that happens outside of the pitch. So the training isn't as intense. So the players seem to have a little bit more energy in that regard for match day. Because I know at the beginning of the season, we always had a lot of energy under Klopp. But every year, without coincidence, we did dramatically lose our edge in the last 10 games onwards. And there was some certain individuals, like Mo, for example, who you could literally see the physical decline towards the end of every season. Not to the point where he couldn't perform anymore, but you definitely looked and thought, hold on, what's happened? What's going on with Salah, or what's going on with Trent, or do you know what I mean? And I think it was because the intensity was so high in training that playing like that on the weekday and then on the weekend, it was knackering. No matter how well trained you are, you're gonna get tired. I'm hoping that the way Slot is training will mean that end of the season we'll have more energy. And then hopefully, that can, because the two times when we was playing really well and we was trying to win the 4 trophies as well, I actually think slightly less intense training throughout the season, and we might have had the energy to get over the line, because we nearly did in 2002. Was it 21-22? Ironically, I was just watching back the Real Madrid game today, some highlights, and Courtois, my word. Trust him to choose that day to have the best game of his life. Like, we peppered him in that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking at it from that point of view, bro. I think there's about an 80% similarity, and then that extra 20% that's the difference. I think that's the intensity and the possession that we play now. I think is better than we did under Klopp, because the way Klopp wanted to always be so front-footed, it was hard to be possession-based if you're being front-footed, because possession isn't about front-footed football. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So it was, just a little bit of that, yeah.
I personally think it's very different, but I also hear what you're saying. Ryan, I want to come back to you. Brighton have been almost the Premier League's conveyor belt for bringing through great talent. You guys have got one of the best, if not the best, transfer philosophies and strategies in all of the Premier League. You look at some of the names, you think of Trossard, our very own McAllister, Caicedo. I mean, the list goes on. You guys are buying players for a small fee and then selling them on at high prices. Even you look at players that you've still got, like Mitoma, for example. Who out of the current crop, though, would you say is the one you're most excited about, and why?
Carlos Baleba. Don't even have to think top player. If you think sort of Caicedo when he was at Brighton, of that, very, very strong player, very, very commanding player. Baleba's that and a lot more. He's very good at breaking up the play. Still very naive, has to be said. It wasn't 35, it was 55. Still very naive, it has to be said. But he was one of them players that can break through the midfield so well. He creates chances, he can shoot, sort of very physically dominant. He reminds me of a little baby Yaya Toure. If you watch some of his highlights, in fact, I think he actually made his debut against Liverpool last season, if I'm right in saying. And it was one of them sort of breakout moments. You thought, okay, very, very, very exciting player, but as I say, a lot to learn. But Baleba's just one of those, by the way. I'm not saying he's the only one, but he's definitely the one. I think second up would probably be Brian Gruder, based on what I saw the other day. Minte's very, very, very high up the list. Very, very good players, as the chat's saying. And Evan Ferguson's, we've got a fantastic side of young players. But honestly, and I mean this genuinely, and not as one of them sort of deluded Brighton fans that think everyone's going to stay at this club, because I know that, and I know that's not going to happen. But seriously, for the team we've got at the moment, the best thing that they can do is to stay here. The last thing you want to do is jump too early and lose that. The one that could be one to keep an eye out on is Joao Pedro or Mitoma.
You see Baleba, what's so amazing about the way Brighton do things is they told us he was Caicedo's replacement. Like, they actually told us, and it wasn't even a thing like the same way they told us Caicedo was Basuma's replacement. And it's not even like by fluke that it's worked. It was designed. They've literally gone out and gone, this guy's going to replace this guy. Oh, he's going to, and we just have to trust that they're telling the truth now, because it just continues to work. It's actually pretty amazing when you actually think about it.
It's incredible. It's incredible, and it's complete testament to Tony Bloom, to everything that he's built at this club. Because believe me, I've been a Brighton fan for a very long time. I haven't been a Brighton fan of the Premier League. I've watched them in the Championship. I've watched them battle, borderline relegations. I've seen them in League One. This club has not been perfect. We used to have bad players. I don't mean bad players mid-table Premier League relegation. I mean bad players, right? So we've seen a lot. And Tony Bloom took over this football club in 2009 when we were in League One. So to see that vision, and the fact he's also a Brighton fan, it's absolutely incredible. I've seen this club from, as I said, the first thing I experienced was us winning the league in League One. After that, then when I start going to games in the Championship, I've seen us nearly get relegated, come up through the Championship, come to the Premier League, nearly get relegated in the Premier League, then get to Europe, and all of those things are not through any sort of fluke, as you say. These are things are, an upward trajectory over a continuous amount of years, and every single time it seems to work very well. And that's very true. Football Manager's spot on, funnily enough. And I'll tell you what, if you go on our team probably for the next one, you're going to see a lot of 5 stars.
I want to just say Baleba, because he's a player that's actually been linked with Liverpool recently. You speak about him potentially not making that move early and still being a bit naive as well. Do you think that he would figure and do very well in Liverpool's current system, though, in that pivot next to a Gravenberch or McAllister? Or do you still think it's too early for him? Obviously, we're not trying to poach it. Like, we can't.
Next to Alexis, I just love McAllister. So I'm a massive McAllister fan. And I love seeing him do well. The fact that he is so well thought of at Liverpool is fantastic. I think that's just brilliant.
Can I just jump in real quick? What makes him so different from Caicedo? Because the vision, the feeling I get from Brighton fans, they don't really like Caicedo, but they love McAllister still. Is that true?
I don't really care about Caicedo too much. I mean, the difference is with Caicedo and the way he left. I mean, in the January, I think he launched a statement saying that he had accepted terms at Arsenal. In the middle of the season when we were pushing for Europe, and it was like, what? That's not happened. And then that sort of got shut down. He got excluded from the group. I think he refused to train a couple of games. And the same thing happened again in the summer. He wanted to go to Liverpool. He wanted to go to Manchester United. He wanted to go to Chelsea. And that saga was ongoing throughout the entire transfer window. And it was constant agent talk. It was constant quotes. It was constant things. And eventually you just think, oh, just go. If you just get out. And the difference with Alexis, he did an interview after winning the World Cup, and we put on a really, really good show for him. And, we were so sort of proud of him in the moment. But it wasn't, I want to leave Brighton. It was, I want to come back here and prove it. We want to get to Europe and then see where we get to. And his thing was, I want to win trophies. Of course he does. He's a world-class footballer. And then in the summer transfer window, it was, I'm speaking to a club, obviously being Liverpool. If it doesn't go through, I'll stay as a Brighton fan and hopefully compete for Europe next season. And it was never a case of, I'm going to leave Brighton. I'm leaving Brighton in July, August. I want to be, an admirable sort of player. And I think that the way he left was fantastic. And I think if that move didn't go through for whatever reason, say it fell through, I think he'd be a Brighton player, and I think he'd be a happy one. And that's the difference between Alexis and the rest of them.
I hear it. Before we go on to speak about your potential starting 11 and our starting 11, just want to have a little fun. Should only take a couple of minutes. If I was to say, name your best Brighton starting 11 in the Premier League era, who would it be? So from goalkeeper through to striker, and we'll see if me and Drift agree. Because, for example, me and Drift are massive Basuma fans, for example. I'd love to see where he figures in that list for you. So who would be your goalkeeper? Not too
should we go? Yeah, I was going to say. The thing is, I have to sort of go Bart, because realistically, I mean, actually, do you know what? I think Bart Verbrugge is a much better goalkeeper than Jason Steele. But the way Jason Steele came back into that team last season before, and he was practically irrelevant. He got such a hard time at Sunderland, and he had a real big sort of mental health kick. And the fact that he came back into that side and got us to Europe and played so well as he did under De Zerbi, I think he deserves to be in goal. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the best goalkeeper we've had in the era. Verbrugge is, but I think he deserves it for how it sort of turned around for him, to be honest.
Cool. Who's your right back?
Again, not blessed. I think it's got to be Joel Veltman. Veltman's
Steady Eddie, right?
7 out of 10 every single week and has been for 4 years. I think he's a cult hero, ambassador sort of, for the communities and stuff. Yeah. Top guy.
Left back. Like Cucurella, Estupiñán currently.
The thing is, it would have actually been Marc Cucurella before sort of how it all went down, but Purvis has come in and probably trumped him in the way he has done. I mean, again, £15 million signing from Villarreal, has been pretty much, very, very good nearly every single week. I think at one point it was contested as being one of the best left backs in the league. So I think it's Purvis, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't think that's unreasonable either.
One person in the comment shout out to Sivarthu. What about Lamptey at right back? I know he's had his injury issues, but what about Lamptey?
Tarek, I love Tarek. Absolutely love him. He's like our little star boy, and he was the first one that really, I think he could have been this sort of, everyone was comparing him to Alphonso Davies purely because of pace reasons, and I don't blame him. Yeah. And he was absolutely rapid. And he was like a little mini Alphonso Davies on the other side. But unfortunately, the biggest thing of Tarek is his injuries. He just can't stay fit and hasn't been able to for years. And defensively, I think he sort of suffers for his size. He's quite small. So he's sort of that in between where he's a decent right back, very good going forward, but he's probably not productive enough to be a right winger. So he's sort of in that half space, which you can't just say Tarek for the sake of it. Unfortunately, it does have to be Joel Veltman for that reason.
Fair dues. And then centre-backs.
Centre-backs, Dunk, 100%. See, look, I used to love Shane Duffy, but when you compare him to sort of who we got now, an honourable mention goes to Levi Colwill on loan. He was superb. But I think it's got to be JP. I think JP is the future. Sorry, Van Hecker while I'm on here. I think Van Hecker is the potential future captain if we can keep him around. I think probably one of the most underrated centre-backs in the league this season. His stats are comparable, I think, with the top defenders. Obviously got the call up with the national team now, playing with the likes, obviously, Van Dijk, etc. So will be a top player. He's completely surpassed expectations. He was one that we were happy to let go of only a couple of years ago. But now he's 100% one of our best centre backs, and probably trumps Dunk at the moment as well.
Yeah, dude, who's your midfield three? This is the one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, see, this is tough. This is tough, and I won't do Carlos as much as I love Ballet, but he's not quite sort of established himself.
You've
And we've had some
absolute ballers for midfielders.
We've had some fantastic midfielders, and I think unfortunately it does have to be Moises Caicedo. As much as he's left us in a bad way, I think he's, you know, he can't forget how much of a fantastic player he was. As much as it could have been Bissouma. Bissouma's a really, really good mention. Probably one of the first ones that came over, £50 million from Lille, I think he was, back in 2018. You know, one of the first sort of dynamic players, one of the ones that could, you know, control the game. But again, people forget in the first year he didn't really play too much. He came into it sort of in the last couple of years, and obviously had a lot of stuff going off the pitch, and you know, I think that sort of tampered with it a little bit. So unfortunately, Bissouma isn't in my final three. I think it's got to be Caicedo, then maybe Alexis. I'd say. I think McAllister's, as I said to you before, a touch of class. You could see it from the moment he arrived from Boca. Sort of just came over, and you could just see that little bit of extra space he had around him at all times. He was never really too, you know, unconvincing. He's you know, that level above. And he's also does the dirty work as well. And yeah, the chat's guessed it already. It's Pascal.
He's your top assist maker of all time, right?
Would be one of the rated as one of the best midfielders in the league, I think, if he was at a big club for the time he was here. Top chance creator behind Kevin De Bruyne in the time he was in the Premier League. You know, that's trumping the likes of obviously Salah, Bruno Fernandes, you know, these huge names that have been in the Premier League in the last 10 years. Pascal was always at the top, and you know, only someone out of this world like Kevin De Bruyne could be in front of him. So yeah, Pascal Gross, what an absolute legend he was.
And then your front three finally.
Front three. This is hard, actually. Solly could have been there. Solly definitely could have been there. But I don't think he is. I think it's underrated.
I think he's underrated.
I'll go right to left, because right's difficult because we haven't got a great deal of right wingers. I mean, majority of the Premier League era, it was Solly. And at times, actually, Pascal did play on the right side. I think I'm going to probably have to give it to March on the basis that Adingra isn't actually a right winger. He's a left winger. As much as Adingra has been good in the last couple of years, Trossard's a very, very good mention. But again, not really a right winger. Was more of a sort of left-sided player, played a lot through the middle for us. So I'm going to have to give it Solly. And the left side goes without saying, one of the best, most exciting players in the league. One of the greatest first touches I've ever seen of a footballer is Karim Mitoma. Never see that guy ever miss the ball. He's absolutely lethal. Fantastic player. And yeah, that striker, it has to be the most lethal player. You know, grew up with him, went to Palace, hated him, come back, had to forgive him, got us promoted, then became our Premier League top scorer. Yeah, it's Glenn Murray. Icon, whether you like him or not. Still, some Brighton fans can't forgive him for going to Palace, and I don't blame them. But yes, Danny Welbeck is a really, really, really good shout, and he probably would be there, because I'm saying Danny is on that level of becoming a legend now, and he probably will be when he retires. But yeah, Glenn Murray for me. It's a bit harsh on the right side because again, Solly had to be there, I think, on the basis that we haven't had too many right wingers, and he was our original star boy from Lewis. So he's the one.
Appreciate that. Drift. I know obviously we'd have probably gone slightly different players. I'd have had Bissouma in there, but I'm a bit biased.
Yeah, I'm interested. What would you have said based on the outside looking in?
Midfield three, I'd have probably got. Do you know what? I'd have gone Bissouma, Caicedo, and McAllister. But when you just told me about Pascal Gross and the fact that I didn't realize he was second highest chance creator. I knew he was your top assist maker. I didn't realize he was that much of a chance creator.
He's a genius. I think it was hard to overlook him.
Yeah, I prefer Bissouma to Caicedo in terms of playing style, but I mean, Drift, where would you stand on that? Would you have Bissouma or Caicedo? That we're going to have in there because we're biased Liverpool fans. So
yes, it's weird because it depends whether you're talking about what they've done now or what they did while they were at Brighton. While they were at Brighton, I think Bissouma and, I mean, obviously this is from the outside looking in. I think him and Caicedo were very similar in what they gave the team. and that's why they both got big moves. Caicedo maybe looked like he had a bigger ceiling from a defensive point of view, but Basuma, I really get frustrated with either Tottenham or with Basuma himself. I think Basuma is one of the most lethal press-resistant DMs you've ever seen in the Premier League.
And
like, he don't seem to get his head straight to like perform week in, week out. I don't like, if you're talking about ability, Basuma is so good. Like it's either Tottenham don't know what they're doing or he's got to get his act together.
No, it's a Basuma thing, unfortunately, because it happened at times. He could control the game. He could make the game his if he wanted to. It was just a shame because his head just wasn't as good as his technical, and unfortunately that's just how it is. And I guess going to a side like Spurs, as much as everyone jokes about him being Spursy and whatever, it probably just wasn't the right move for him either. Going to a side that notoriously isn't very good at getting the best out of players. If you're going to leave one of the clubs that is one of the best at getting players, I just can never understand it. But I just want to throw one more honourable mention, because I feel like for a team where I'm talking about sort of great players, there's one that no one's mentioned, and that's David Propper. And David Propper probably and could have been such a good player. Again, just the head. I think he retired and then came out of retirement through sort of mental health reasons. Absolute genius when he wanted to be. And again, if maybe he was in a better team, he was under Houghton, sort of playing a bit defensive. We were very bad. We should have gone down. If he was in this sort of Brighton side now, if I could rewind the clock and get a 25-year-old David Propper in now, I think he would be thought of as a very intelligent player.
Just quickly before I forget, Cal, Ryan, I'm doing a little scout. I don't mean this to come across as thing, but like obviously, like we know that Brighton do cash in on their assets, right? I'm looking at Pedro, and I see an absolute baller.
For you,
am I making the right assessment? He could take the jump up to Liverpool.
Yeah, 100%. He could make the jump to any team he wants if he wants to. He is top. And the thing is about him is he's a talisman. So he will be the guy to drag you. And without him, it's not the same. The Brighton isn't the same without João Pedro. As much as Danny Welbeck has been brilliant, and I think he deserves and still is one of our best strikers, but João Pedro has that gene of just saying, look, I'm going to do it. If you're not having a good game, if you're really, really struggling, the tide's down, João can get the ball and just score a goal. He can create something out of nothing. He's got that sort of, that wow factor. But also he's got that captaincy in him from his own perspective. He's not one to obviously be a Lewis Dunk captain, but he's one to say, look, I can be the guy if you need me to. So I think he will probably be the one of anyone that gets sold for a big fee next, if you really want me to say it. I was looking over the shoulder at Arsenal, but now they're looking at Isak, aren't they, if I'm right in saying, and Newcastle might be getting rid of him. So it could be good news on our perspective, but a lot of it's down to fitness too.
Yeah. A lot of the Liverpool fan base don't like me saying it, and I get a lot of stick, probably even from Cal. But if we were going to buy a striker that's in the Prem, I actually would go for João Pedro. I would. Yeah, you'd be silly not to. Personally, I when I watch him, I'm like, he's got a mixture of like killer and silky skill, and that's what I love about the way he plays. And I'm not gonna lie, Cal, he could be our new Bobby Firmino. I promise you, bro.
Honestly, mate,
I promise you, he could be our new Bobby Firmino.
No, but you mentioned my favorite player in it. It's like, what are we doing?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you take one Brazilian out and then you just replace him with another Brazilian.
No, I rate him. I don't know if anyone can replicate what Bobby did.
Maybe not get to the level Bobby did, but I see him very stylistically similar, except he's got a little bit more pace, which I guess Bobby had him when he was younger. You look at 23, 24-year-old Bobby, he actually was quicker than the Bobby I think
it's always hard to replace past players as well. You don't want to just say, because for me to say João's the new Glenn Murray, from my experience, Glenn Murray was a player for me when we were in the lower leagues and, getting ourselves promoted. He was a lethal goal scorer. Football's changed now, and, to try and rewrite his history for someone that's a completely different player now. Technically, I'd say the best finisher at this football club is Evan Ferguson, because he is.
I rate him so highly.
João Pedro is probably that next step down in terms of, but I think he can do a lot more than Evan can. But I think João, honestly, and we signed him for 30 million. This is a team that signs players for a small fee. João Pedro, we signed him for 30, from a relative size club in Watford. You know, he did a very good job there, and credit to them. You know, we're going to be asking for a lot of money if we sell Caicedo at £6 million signing for 115. Could you imagine what we're asking for João Pedro? It'd be a hell of a lot of money.
How long's he got left on his contract?
Fair bit. I actually don't know for sure, if I'm actually being honest
3
with
or
you.
4 years, probably.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it was a good 4 or 5 year contract when he signed from Watford last year.
Oh,
Fair amount of time.
100 mil plus player. We'll do that.
Yeah. Bruno. I just seen Bruno. Yeah. I just seen Bruno in the comments. The old days. I mean, look, Bruno went to Chelsea in his own way, and you know, for whatever reason, we didn't like him at the time. But Bruno's a legend of the football club. Before Premier League, he is, for me, the Championship legend. He helped us get promoted, and yeah, I can't thank Bruno enough for what he did at the time. It's just a shame how he had to leave, unfortunately. The chat's asking a lot of players. I tell you what, everyone really likes a lot of our players, don't they? And Ciso, I've seen.
I mean, this should be. You should take this as a compliment, because Brighton, they, not to be rude, but it's like a conveyor belt of just talent all the time. And it's obviously because we're Liverpool, we often look at teams like a Brighton and think, oh, can we get that player? Can we get that player? You guys do business right. You do transfers right, and 9 times out of 10 it works out. So you should be very proud of your setup and how you're doing things. Just to move on to the game, though, who would be your starting 11 for this weekend, and what would your score? What's your score prediction?
Okay, tough one because of the sort of injury front at the moment. I think Joao's close. I don't know if he's back in time for tomorrow, but could be on the bench. O'Reilly, I think it'll be slightly too soon. I think maybe after the international break. So I'll go with Verbruggen in goal. Depending on Ferdy Kadioglu's situation, I think it'll probably be Veltman, Van Hecke, Igor, Estepinian. I think it'll be Belabor. God, I've got to get this right now. Who else is in midfield for us at the moment? Who else have we been playing in midfield with? Mats Wiefer could get a start. Wiefer's an interesting one because he's been through a bit. He gave that, obviously, the ball away for that goal. So the returning game was an interesting one. Hinch is back fit as well. So we could even see Jack Hinchelwood next to Carlos Belabor. It'll be Jorginho, I'd imagine, with Karo Mitoma, Danny Welbeck, and I'm missing one, aren't I? I think we're pretty much there in terms of the team, though. Maybe Jack Hinchelwood does play in there instead. But we'll see.
What about Adingra? Did Adingra get a...
Adingra won't start, I don't think. No, I think Adingra's a good, exciting player, but he's just a good, exciting player. I like him off the bench. I think the thing is, he lives and breathes goals and assists. So people think he's just like world class because whenever he seems to come on, he seems to score. But actually, when he starts, he's probably less effective, which is quite strange. I think Jorginho's a fantastic player. I think he will be one of the next ones. In fact, I even think he's almost come in to replace Danny Welbeck. Sorry, not Danny Welbeck. João Pedro in the long run. Yankuba Minte's injured, unfortunately, so he won't be in the side.
Thankfully, but again, he's looked brilliant so far this season.
Electric player. Yeah, potential, very, very big potential. Again, very young, mate. All these players are very young, so they're very up and down. So I don't like to just put too much pressure on everyone. In fact, you might even see Evan Ferguson start. I might put Evan Ferguson in there and put Georgie on the right because he sort of inverted last game, and it was quite nice sort of balance of him coming in and out. So let's say Jorginho sort of right, sort of half space side, and then Veltman helping him out with, I'd say, Ferguson and Welbeck. I think that probably completes the 11.
Fair dues. Drift for Liverpool. Obviously Kelleher in goal. we presume Trent comes back into the team. Ibu and Virgil. We presume it's going to be Mac and Gravenberch in the pivot. We presume it's going to be Salah on the right, and we presume it's going to be Nunes through the middle. That leaves a few positions. Who starts left back in your opinion? Not who you want to start left back, because we all know who we want to.
Funny enough, I don't know if you saw Slot's press conference today. He was asked about this.
He said Robbo basically didn't have a pre-season because he came back injured, and he's just still getting back up to speed. Yeah,
which everyone's going to say is an excuse, but don't we have to listen to our manager who knows what he's talking about? That's one of the reasons.
I feel like he's protecting the player. I think he's protecting the player saying that. I think he knows Robbo's form isn't great, and I think he's protecting the player, which I'm good with because I don't want to see a manager throw a player on the bus. If he come out and said, "Yeah, Robbo's playing crap at the moment," he might not
Sounds like
start. So I think
I still think there is some. I still think there's some truth into why maybe he hasn't had the greatest of start to the season. But yeah, I think he will play Robbo because the way he spoke about it, he said he wants he said that's the first time he's played Robertson back to back to give him a bit of rhythm, like in a short space of time, like within like a few days. So I think he's thinking if Robbo gets up to speed, he'll be okay. He just thinks he's out of sync at the moment, and therefore I think he will play him and try and give him that momentum of week after week, game after game, and try and get him up to speed. So I think he'll go Robertson at left back.
Fair dues. Left wing.
I think he'll go Diaz, but I'd go Gakpo.
Yeah, I think it will actually be Gakpo.
Oh, do you? Yeah. I mean, he mentioned that as well. He said we got two left wingers who I can rotate because they're both in form. So I think he just rolls the dice of like, who don't want to play today because they're both in form. They're both playing well. Just rolls the dice on whichever one. But Gakpo's coming off the back of the brace, so I think it'll be nice for him to start. But I think it'll be
unbelievable brace as well. To be fair, I literally by the time I sat down and sort of got myself comfortable again, it was a quick shot, and it was unbelievable strike, both of them. To be fair, still had no chance.
Yeah,
and
good
then
goal.
Who's a third midfielder for you alongside McAllister and Gravenberch? Is it Jones?
I think it's got to be. It's weird, isn't it? I think it's got to be Szoboszlai, just based on the fact that the kind of overall energy that he's bringing into the midfield. Against Arsenal, a lot of people did notice that without it, it wasn't the same. And I know Brighton aren't as good as Arsenal, in all due respect, but at the same time, maybe it is the game for Curtis to continue, because Curtis has been playing well this season. Obviously, there's been a few games where he hasn't been great, but generally speaking, when he's played, he hasn't let us down. Like he's been good. So again, I don't even really know if I'm bothered which one plays at this time. Like you get something different from either, don't you? So it's like, Szoboszlai did have a good game against Brighton in the cup. Bro, you know what's crazy? People always think I'm a madman when I say things, and then later down the line, they realize I'm not. You just got to listen when I speak. Szoboszlai playing the false nine might be the best position for him in this Liverpool team. And if that means he's got to sit on the bench and not play that often because we got better options, I genuinely am looking at the way we play, and I'm like, false nine is actually the best place for Szoboszlai in this team. There's less responsibility on him defensively, and there's less pressure on him to have to do, like, I know this sounds really weird, but when you play number 9 for Liverpool at the moment, I think the wingers are the ones who carry the burden and the goals. So I think if you're the number 9, you got less pressure to score goals than you do number 10. Because when you play number 10, you're popping up in those positions where we're like, I need you to shoot.
Everyone's calling him a passenger.
Why are you not getting any? Where's your assist? Where's your goals? What are you doing? In the number 9, you can facilitate. And he's very good at those little knocks to the side, those little passes and all that. You know what I mean? I don't know, bro. I don't know. People thought I was crazy, and I even heard the manager speaking about it. So who knows? Maybe that's where Szoboszlai might play if we have to. Maybe he'll be the new backup false 9. Who knows?
That'll be very interesting. Score predictions, guys. Ryan, as our guest, I'll start with you.
Oh, really? Oh, brilliant. I hate score predictions so much. I'll be in the away end tomorrow. Anything will do. I'll have a point, really. I don't think we will. I think my head sort of tells me Liverpool will be too good on the day. Screams Van Dijk goal from a corner or something.
He does like a goal against you guys.
He does, mate. Every time we sort of just we concede such stupid goals at the moment. That's one thing we really, really have to cut out is the way we concede goals. And I think Liverpool, with how defensively sound you are at the moment, you seem quite well drilled. I think my head sort of tells me you will win this 2 or 3-0, maybe. But I think my heart's going to tell me we'll get a point and snatch a 1-1. And if we get a 1-1, best believe you can get me on the podcast afterwards. I'm free anytime you want me.
I love it. Drift. Liverpool versus Brighton. Your score prediction.
Brighton always come to town and put on a performance. I'm a little bit nervous.
We're different Brighton now, has to be said.
Yeah, that's true. But
Alarming
I don't know. It's weird. Even though Brighton keep on evolving and keep on changing, to me they just seem like Brighton. Like it ain't even about playing style. They're just good. They play well. I mean, you're 6th in the table. I'm not gonna lie. Beginning of the season, I thought this might be the year. Not relegation, anything stupid like that, but this might be the year where mid-table just becomes all it is. Do you know what I mean? Because new manager is young. Is he going to be able to take over? De Zerbi was brilliant for you guys. How many times can you keep changing? I thought we're looking at like 10th. I think Cal did raise his eyebrows when I didn't put Brighton in the top 8 because we did our top 8 at the beginning of the season and I didn't put Brighton in there. And Cal was a bit like, no, Brighton. I was like, I think this just might be the year, but they just become mid-table. And now you're bloody 6th. Like, you just seem to
haven't deserved it. That's the thing. We haven't deserved it. And this is what my thing is I'm the perfectionist that wants us to be higher because I know that we could be. And don't get me wrong, it sounds very ungrateful. But when I look at the side we spent 200 million this summer. You know, this is a big team now. There's a lot of players in this that, you know, Liverpool fans are snapping your hand off. Do you understand how crazy that is for me to say? I watched this club a long time ago. So to see us having players that everyone wants, when I don't see us playing sort of the football we were playing, particularly even last season and the season before, you know, there's that perfection in you that wants you to start playing that because you know that these players are more than capable of getting to Europe and beyond this season. It's just, I actually don't feel like we've been that great, and yet we're 6th. So who knows? It might all turn around and it might become very, very good. But I like the fear factor that we give. It's very interesting. It's not the first time that I've been on a sort of Big Six teams podcast and they're sort of a bit fearful. It's insane.
Yeah, no, you can't take Brighton lightly. You cannot take Brighton lightly. I'm probably gonna go with my famous one from this season, which is a 2-1. I'd love a 2-0 because a clean sheet. Let's get back to not letting in goals. Yeah. We've let in goals in the last 2 games. Let's get back to clean sheets. But I'll take a 2-1 like that. If you said to me right now, get in, get the job done, bang, 2-1, get out. Let João Pedro get the goal as well. You know we like to buy a player when he plays well against us. Let Pedro get the goal. 2-0
under the old regime. Under the old regime, mate. Not that.
No, I think Edwards used to enjoy
the Champions League for us at this rate.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think 2-1, get in, get the job done, get out. And yeah, João Pedro just put on a little masterclass, but not to win the game, but just enough to let Liverpool pay attention. Because I do want João Pedro at Liverpool.
I'm going to go for a 3-1. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I do think we can get goals in this game. So I'm going to go 3-1.
Dunk missing is a massive blow.
I'm going to say, even though it's a 3-1 prediction, I know 3-1 sounds like it's an easy game. I don't see it being an easy game. It never is.
We've got no leaders without Dunk. You know, that leadership you saw against Wolves, complete capitulation, 2-0 up, 85th minute. You know, we conceded 88th, we conceded 92. There's just that element of leadership's lacking. And that's for me is, you know, it's fine. It's a young side. It'll get better. And thank you very much. That's very kind. But there's a little bit lacking at the moment. And probably leadership is one of those big things. We lost Lallana. We lost De Zerbi and his backroom staff. We lost Pascal Gross. To go through a transition like we're doing at the moment with a young team, young manager, young coaching staff. Without leaders, it's very difficult. You need a balance. Thank you for James Milner as well. Apparently, he's been very, very good behind the scenes for us.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. I think he's one of the biggest Premier League legends of all time, and I don't think he gets enough flowers. I really don't.
Yeah, that's very fair.
These games are always 3:00 as well, Cal. Do you know this is the third time we played Brighton as a 3 p.m. home game?
No, it's not. So this is how it works. We usually get Brighton as an early afternoon kickoff or as a 3 p.m. kickoff. It's always one of the two. I can't
That's
remember.
What I'm saying. This is the third time. Yeah.
Apart from
I remember a night game against you and we wiped you 3-0, and I think that was Danny Welbeck. And I remember that was my
memory right.
No, this game actually will be always the one I will go back to when I've talked to you about perfection. I remember going in at 2-0, and I think Solly got 2 that day, and it was the game where I said that was flawless at halftime. I just remember going in and I said nothing about that was bad. Not
that was
single
a
negative.
3 p.m. That was a 3 p.m. Ryan.
Was it at 3?
Yeah, that was the 22-23 season. You beat us 2-0. Sonny Marsh got 2, and then Danny Welbeck got the third, and you had a goal disallowed as well.
Yeah, that was it. And it was just, I think that was the most perfect I've seen Brighton play. You know, and you just have them games where everything's 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 across the board. I think that was the best football I've ever seen at the Amex by far.
Yeah, we remember. Yeah. Thanks for that, Ryan.
See, Trossard hat-trick was a 3 p.m. game as well, Cal.
Yeah, Trossard the hat-trick. Yeah,
I remember that game. Yeah, De Zerbi's first game.
We played Brighton at 3 p.m. a lot, and it's like, hold on, TV people, do you not understand this is a brilliant game to watch usually? Yeah. Why are we always the 3 o'clock game against Brighton?
If I'm trying to remember back, actually, the last time we played Brighton in an evening game, I think might have been during the pandemic when it was, I think we won the game 3-1, I'm going to say. I think Naby Keita, Henderson, and Virgil might have scored.
There's one we played you as well. I'm sure this one was a night game because this was when we beat you at Anfield for the first time ever, and it was Steven Alzate, and it was sort of a bit of a scuff off the thigh.
The pandemic game.
2021. Yeah.
Kelleher was involved for that game. That was when we were on a run of losing. We lost like 6 home games on the bounce.
Yeah, that was it. I think it was after Burnley broke the record or something, and then you couldn't win again.
The new one. And Dan Burns was playing left back for you guys that day, right?
Yeah, that was it. And he actually was all right, to be fair to him. I mean, I remember saying, why is he playing? Steven Alzate, what a pluck out of thin there he was.
Yeah, you actually deserve to be us. Burnley didn't deserve to be us. You actually deserve to be us. You played well in that game and defended really well. That was that was an even kickoff. That might be the last one. Crazy.
Yeah, that Joe Gomez, when Mitoma sort of dunked on him. That was I actually missed that game. It's one of the only games I missed of the last.
That was FA Cup that one.
Yeah, but I wasn't well.
Danny Welbeck dunked on him in that 3-0 as well because he chipped it over him and then volleyed it in.
Yep. Yeah, we like a game against Gomez. Can you play him by any chance tomorrow? That'd be great.
Not now, no. Not now. Ryan, before we let you go, firstly, thank you so much for making time to come on. Is there anything you'd like to promote? Obviously, the link to your channel is in the description and the title, so please, people, go and support. What have you got coming up that you want the people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to really watch Talk Seagulls, I mean, I'll be very surprised if you really are Liverpool fans that want to watch a Brighton podcast. So on the assumption you don't, you can follow me on Twitter as Ryan ADSETT, and also TSR Football on Instagram. Starting some podcasty stuff up actually on there. So there'll be a few clips, a few games, a bit of fun. Maybe even get these guys on one day. Who knows? But yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on. And we'll see who wins tomorrow. I'll give you a message if we do.
No, we appreciate you. Drift, have you got anything coming up between now and tomorrow afternoon?
I mean, on my channel tonight, I think I might be doing a bit of gaming, guys. So stay tuned. I haven't picked what game I'm going to play yet, but I have a new selection of games.
I've got something to show you. Ryan, just bear me one sec. You're going to love this, Drift. One sec.
I hope what he's going to show us is a piece of machinery, because if he's got it, then that's amazing. But yeah, so guys, look out. I will be doing some gaming this evening. I've got a plethora of games to choose from now. I knew it. Well done, bro. Well done. There you go. We've got him on board, people. We're going to turn Cal into a gamer. This is the last thing we do.
This is the first time I've had a console in my house since I had a PS2 when I was still living at home. So
that's class.
This is a big step for me.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, this is a massive jump, bro. You just went from no power steering and manual wound up windows to like you're driving in an Escalade now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, crazy jump. But yeah, so yeah, look out, guys, for that. And yeah, we'll definitely jump on as well, Ryan. Just hit us up, man. It'll be a pleasure to jump on your team. So just let us know, bro.
Pleasure. Well, people, we are going to wrap up there. If you haven't already, do smash the like button. Got a couple supers we'll get through as well. Alex says, big love, lads. Should be a good one on Saturday. You'll never walk alone.
Big up, Alex.
Cal, you're supposed to buy the console. But you know what? I'm going to be completely honest with you. My nephew lent me his. I wasn't going out to buy a PS5 this year.
That's how I know the family bond within your family is strong, because I ain't borrowing any of my family my P5. I love them, but I ain't borrowing. I wouldn't even borrow my brother my P5.
Yeah. No, my nephew's a good guy, man. He's a good guy.
I gave my brother my old P3, but that was because I had a P4. But like, big Big up, nephew.
Yeah, he bailed me out there. Even set up my PlayStation ID and everything. We're moving, people. We're moving. I know.
Oh, you must have felt like an old man there. You had to get the youngster to set you up with.
No, I did it myself. Don't do that. Don't do that. I did it myself. I did that one. I did that one myself. I still
nephew, I'm gonna do this.
I know. Massive thanks again, Ryan. People in the comments, massive thanks to you all as well. Until we see you tomorrow, have a fantastic rest of the day wherever you are. Stay safe, stay blessed. We're Kopish and right, people. Take care.
Peace.